Okay, so this is your video for, this is my story summative assignment, so the summative assignment for Unit 2. So by now you should have completed all the formative work for Unit 2, including the focus on style, the examination of some aspects of creative nonfiction as well. So just let me go through this with you, and then as always, if you have any questions, concerns after, please email those to me. So in this folder, you're going to find a number of different things. You're going to find links to further tips and tricks and hints on writing creative nonfiction, a checklist for travel writing, which is a form of creative nonfiction, a basic resource for understanding a little bit more about this genre, so building on what you have learned in the formative work of the unit, a bunch of tutorials as well as the assignment. So I'm going to go through, just before I go through the assignment, I'm just going to go through some of the links here. So you have just a basic link for travel writing tips and tricks, okay? So coming back here, you have also, scrolling down here, you also have a link about creative nonfiction as well. Some other tips and issues, concerns, ideas for improving creative nonfiction too there to review. You also have a wonderful link on the art of writing a memoir. Memoirs are another form of creative nonfiction. I won't click on that, but from a Writers and Company, a CBC show, as well as some other tutorials for you to look at. One from Lee Gutkind, who you were familiar with and introduced to in unit, the first module, so of this unit, as well as Susan Orlean, looking at the staff writer for The New Yorker and talking about creative nonfiction as well. So there's two other videos there that will hopefully flesh out and round out your understanding of creative nonfiction. So I will talk about, first I'm going to talk about the assignment as a whole. I'll talk about the assignment as a whole, and then we'll come back and look at the checklist piece of that in terms of when I'm expecting some things as well. Okay, so let's go to the assignment here first. Okay. So I have this wonderful opening quote from one of my favorite novels, Fifth Business, by Robertson Davies. So later I was able to say that they were both psychologically rather than literally true, and that psychological truth was really as important in its own way as historical verification. But while I was a young soldier, I had no vocabulary for such argument, though I sensed the truth of it. So without knowing it, I think Robertson Davies offered a wonderful definition of creative nonfiction in his novel, Fifth Business. Think of creative nonfiction as a mix of factual truth of an event and the truth that one is left with as the event fades into history. So what I mean by that, so let me just finish this sentence. This is not to say that creative nonfiction is in any way fictional. Rather, this genre focuses on the personal rather than the objective factual truth. So what I mean by that, folks, is that when you're getting into memoir or travel writing, we're writing about things in the past. So we're writing about how we remember it, not as how we've experienced it. So we're not writing immediately about the experience as we were experiencing it at the particular moment. We're writing about the experience as we remember that experience in the past. And that's a difference. So the creative nonfiction, as you've learned in the first in the formative assignments and activities for this unit, creative nonfiction is really a mix, right, of factual truth and that personal reflection on it, right? Yes, it really happened, as event really that happened, but it's that blending between personal truth rather than objective factual truth and detail, if that makes sense. Okay. So that's kind of what we're going after. It's the truth is how you remember it, okay? And that's how what makes memoir and nonfiction very unique in that sense. Okay, And in fact, some may question the whole genre of nonfiction as it being not made up, right? You were to compose an original piece of creative nonfiction. So that can be anything from a memoir based upon an object, picture, photograph, event, person from your own life experience, okay? Or you can maybe perhaps do a travel piece based on a curious or remarkable incident that you've experienced. Or a manifesto based on your personal philosophy of life may be the piece of creative nonfiction you want to use. Or a personal essay on a current issue. Again, so a lot of you are very passionate people about certain political issues or social issues. This is kind of where you can kind of tie that in here as well if you're wanting to, okay? So you're going to be required to really demonstrate here your understanding of the structural and writing techniques of this genre and incorporate these elements into your own work. In short, you must apply your study of the models in Module 2, okay? So you've worked through a number of different modules, examples and some models from Module 2, and perhaps some are not ones that you've actually decided to write on in terms of the type of creative nonfiction. So my recommendation would be to search some of those out. So if your models in Module 2 didn't deal with a personal philosophy in any way, try to find an example of that and which to use as a model for your own writing. Your final copy should be in the first or second person, okay? Most likely, again, you're dealing with it probably, you're dealing with the first person here. Should be about 1,000 to 1,200 words in length, so maybe around 4 to 5 double spaced pages. Focus on vivid imagery and significant and concrete detail. So remember, creative nonfiction uses, one of the appeals of creative nonfiction is that it's nonfiction but written in using the literary and language devices of fiction, right? So it's very florid language, very vivid use of descriptive imagery and language as well. So that's what I'm looking for also. And then you need to focus on some relevant element that is relevant to the universal human condition. So what I mean by that is that you're to focus on an idea or a theme that relates to everyone. So if it's about loss or pain or suffering or something like that, right? Or something a little bit more happy about happiness, love, passion, or something like that. Definitely make sure that what your reader will be able to connect to that writing as well. Okay, so and really number 4 is really it goes without saying, because good writing does this, right? It connects to the reader on some level and a myriad of different levels. So this idea of connecting to the universal human condition, your piece will, all right, for the most part. Okay, and if you have any concerns about that, just give me an email and let me know what you're up to. So here's the structure piece here. Creative nonfiction is quite cyclical in nature. What that means is that you should have some sort of a narrative thread running from beginning to the end. This technique will allow your anecdotes, ideas, images to focus on a central purpose for the piece. So have a common idea or theme running from beginning to the end. All right, and that's what I call a narrative thread. You're telling a story, but make sure that you're telling that same story from beginning to end, in that sense, if that makes sense, right? You can be jumping around in the narrative structure of your piece, but make sure that there's a common thread that runs through from beginning to end, and that's what I refer to as that narrative thread. That should be fairly evident here. Okay, and I've given you a link on tips for travel writing here as well if you want. But again, the structure of your creative nonfiction should reflect the form that it's taking. So for example, if you're choosing to write a travel piece, you should be mindful of the structure of a travel piece, right? If you're choosing to do a personal essay or a manifesto in some way, you should be mindful of how the structure of those pieces are in order to your piece reflects that as well. But again, I can't stress enough the idea of a narrative thread that works through. Okay, your audience is someone who's familiar with creative nonfiction, but it's also someone who's familiar with that particular form that you're writing in. Okay, so you should be comfortable enough to sharing that content with them and challenge them with that structure and form. Okay, so your final copy should be, and I'm going to speak a little bit on how to submit this. Should be submitted as a PDF to the Dropbox. You may wish to package this differently, right? It's a little bit optional for this assignment in terms of the assembly, but try to be creative with how you present your piece, right? And that's part of the time that I'm giving you for your assignment. So what I mean by that, folks, what I mean by that is that when you are looking to put everything together, make sure it reflects the form that you have chosen, right? Try to be a bit creative in terms of how you put this together for me. So you may wish to use some sort of a desktop publishing software like Publisher or another Pages, and it has a good way of assembling something nicely, right? So when you're looking at putting things together, make sure the how you put it together reflects the creativity of the piece that you've made as well, right? If that makes sense. And again, if you're having challenges with that, please let me know and I can help you out and give you some ideas with that. It is a bit more optional for this assignment. It's not for the other ones. So try to get in that habit now of how you assemble and put together and present your assignment to me reflects the creativity that's in there, okay, of your assignment. I'm also wanting all your rough work, and I'll be talking about that in just a second. So that goes to the Dropbox as well. So that's the format here, folks, of the assignment, okay, the outline of the assignment. So let's go back here for a second and look at exactly what I mean by this checklist piece here, okay? The Dropbox is right there. So the checklist is pretty straightforward here. So I've given you this in order to make sure. I'm wanting your brainstorming notes, okay? So by October 3rd in the Dropbox, you will have submitted all of this, okay? So what that means is this. I want your brainstorming notes. So no writer sits down and just sits and hammers something out. It all starts somewhere, right? So your notes for me are imperative. So this could be mind maps. This could be your brainstorming notes. Could be just a page of notes of some sort. I'm looking for about a page in and around a page of good, solid brainstorming notes that show me that you are wrestling with fleshing out your idea. Then your rough drafts, okay? So I'm looking at a rough draft and in your edited copies. So try to submit to me a rough draft that's edited copies by at least 2 to 3 people for this assignment, okay? So your edited copies can be from your peers at your school, so it can be from family members or so forth, or anybody who you feel comfortable writing your reading your non-finished work in a sense, right? So you have a rough draft of your work. You need to get concerted feedback from people on this. They need to mark this up as well, okay? They need to make comments in editing, so pick people carefully on that, okay? And that's the edited copies, all right? So your rough drafts and your edited copies I'm looking for. So give me a rough draft, a blank rough draft, and then your edited copies are going to be 2 to 3 of the same draft that's been edited by people, all right? So that's what I'm really looking for that. Your video is going to be, by the 3rd, it's going to be a screencast video of your rough work, of you speaking to me, and there will be another video of explaining on how to do this, but really of a video of you explaining to me what you were thinking about your brainstorming, the process, brainstorming notes, the process that you went through from brainstorming to edited copies, and I will be posting a video later on about how to produce that, how to put that together as well. It's very straightforward and easy. Most of you probably know how to do screencasting already. What I'm looking for in and around a 5 to 10 minute video explaining what you were thinking in your brainstorming, how you worked from your brainstorming notes all the way down to producing a rough draft that you've had people edit, and what you have gained and learned from those edits, okay? That is all due by the 3rd, end of day, 11:59 on the 3rd of October. I'll also be hosting, again, for this assignment, it's optional as well, which is it's a live event where we can come together as a class. It'll be on October 4th, tentatively October 4th, and again, I'll let you know about this at 8 p.m., where we can come together as a class and start talking and sharing about some of our ideas that we have. It'll be in and around 45 minutes or so, not that long. half an hour where we just can kind of quickly share as a class here on who chooses to attend those ideas. Okay, so that, and there'll be more information to come about that. And then coming down here, again, try your best for the creative assembly for this assignment, that you've followed my assignment outline and your project reflects that formative learning that you have done in the unit. Okay, so all in all, that is this is my story. Okay, that is what's required for this particular assignment. So as always, if you have any questions or concerns as you're working through this particular assignment, you have lots of time here. So I'm really after quality here. So I'm giving you a lot of time to work on this particular assignment, this summative assignment, and as I do for all my summative assignments. So I'm really, and that reflects the idea that I'm wanting good writing. Okay, I'm not wanting something that's rushed. So don't leave in any way your assignments to the last, because your work will reflect that. Okay. So as always, if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know, and I'll get right back to you.